Hello again, and welcome back to another episode of the Noble Father podcast. I am your host, Theophilus, and if you're here for the first time, this is a podcast of brutal honesty and one in which I talk about things that are happening in my life. And so, however you found yourself here, welcome. Know that the things that I talk about, some might not prescribe to. For example, my faith. I am a Christian myself, and I speak very openly about what I believe. But by no means is it in any kind of way to preach and say that, you should be this and you should do this. It is very much I hope you come at this with a very open mind, and really just take away the little nuggets for yourself to walk away better and more present with your family. I certainly believe that the pinnacle of man, the utmost potential he can reach is is literally maximizing all 7 domains of the person's wellness. And so, the 7 being physical, emotional, mental, relational, spiritual, vocational, and environmental, right? When we maximize all of those things in our lives and our contribution in them, we are at our utmost potential. And for me, I firmly believe that we are spiritual beings living a physical life, not the other way around. And so really even just think about that. You'll probably hear me or have heard me iterate that over and over again. This week has been one in which I feel like God has done a lot of pruning. Pruning in my life is that certain people who, at one point in time were avid supporters, were aligned in the vision of Noble Father, have really revealed themselves and shown themselves, just shown who they are and their thoughts to me. With that comes a lot of animosity and a lot of words that come out that and things that are said and expressed in ways that really hurtful for me. Like everybody in this world, nobody likes to be misunderstood, and I certainly felt like I was being misunderstood. I felt like there's a lot of details that. Typically if there's a conflict, you'd expect to, and this is good practice for conflict resolution, is to really deal with it in that moment, right then and there, rather than letting it fester, letting it get muddled. And then also just allowing your life and the results that you find yourself in to greatly influence the way you deliver that message to somebody. And so this week I was, out of genuine care for one of the older members of our community, thought that I'd reach out and just, say hi and see how things were going. It's been a long time since I'd heard from this person. And I don't know what was the impetus or what spurred this person on to unload on me of incongruences, I guess this person felt, and in me sharing this is by no means am I sharing this out of any kind of animosity or I'm trying to antagonize them. I am very open book, and I'm very I check myself, right? I always go to check myself first and make sure that what this person is saying, is there any validity or truth to it? And, for those that don't know, what we do at the Fortress with Noble Father is personal development, right? Growing in our goals and in our walks, right? Across all 7 of those domains that I mentioned. And this year for 2024, my word or phrase for the year is ruthless, relentless, and remorseless. And I have it as the background of my computer. With Batman in the background. Those are my words. And I've been really it's amazing because it's not just me in the group that has designated a word or has set in motion a word, and the opportunities to really exercise them have really revealed themselves. And so, you know, I'm through the point where ultimately this person was trying to blame me, right? Blame me for taking their ideas. Again, I talked about this a few months ago. Another member of my community was saying that I took ideas that this person had, and that that I didn't give them royalties or something, and they just didn't see that the vision that I was creating with Noble Father was aligned to what they were doing. And I spent a lot of time thinking about the words, right, for myself. Is there truth and validity to it? To me, it's like, it's an evolving situation, right? When I started out the group, I had no intention of monetizing on people. It was a free group, and we were a free group for 2 years, like almost 2 years. It was maybe like a year and 3/4 of a year, free. I had no intention of monetizing on it. And it was only over the course of time where we developed and evolved and grew. And, I was growing resentful of the work because it wasn't feeding my family. And that's just not how I wanted to lead as a man. I'll talk about this for a few seconds or for a few minutes, is that, like, it's no wonder the world of fathers and men is so dark, because of people who feel entitled to something that they contributed to a space and took no action in wanting to be a presence or even take on more initiative or more responsibility, made no offer in that attempt. And whenever I make something of these ideas that are not just one person given, it's like a stone tumbler, right? You throw a rough stone inside and it tumbles with other rocks, and then it turns into this smooth rock over time. That's really the whole process. And so for one person to say that, oh, I was in that tumbler, that was my idea, and that you owe everything in your existence to me, like, that just does not make any sense to me. And, for me, what does this instantly remind me of? It reminds me of the crab mentality. If you don't know what the crab mentality is, let me describe to you what it is. It is a mentality of which people will try and prevent others from gaining a favorable position in something, even if it has no effect on those trying to stop them. It is usually summarized with the phrase, "If I can't have it, neither can you." Now, it's really the crabs in the bucket. If you've ever heard of that saying or that phrase, crabs in the bucket. If you ever watch Crabs in a Bucket, you'll see some are trying to climb out, and as soon as one tries to climb up, a few of them will grab hold of that crab and pull that crab back down. And so nobody ever gets to leave the bucket because everybody is holding that crab back, and they do it to each other. And so, I've reconciled a lot of things about this because, ultimately what this person was trying to do was blame me for circumstances that are going on in their life. And, what's crazy is that I've known this person since the existence of this community, since the creation of this community. And what's really completely wild to me is how little things have changed in this person's life over the course of our growth as a community. And so whenever and you've heard me say this before, if you haven't, I talk about the fruits of one's life, right? Imagine every single person is a tree, right? And in the Bible, it says, no good tree bears bad fruit, and no bad tree bears good fruit. The fruit that we bear is from the tree that we are. And so, in looking at this situation, and by no means am I judging, right? Like, each person listening to this podcast should really ask themselves, what are my fruits? What am I doing, right? If you're going to blame somebody, by all means, I hope that you have done the walk, you have controlled everything within your ability, you have done everything you are able to do in order for you to give this criticism or blame this person for everything. Because ultimately, when I read the message, I was like, how can you blame me for that? You've done nothing in your life. You've controlled nothing. I've gave you support. I've prayed for you incessantly for your family and your situation. And yet nothing in your life has changed. It's not my fault. I can't force you to attend our meetups. I can't force you to take part in our membership, right? I can't do those things. I've done what I can. You haven't met me halfway. How do I get the blame? How is it my fault and my responsibility, right, for the results in your life? And so, yeah, maybe this person felt that they had some kind of tie-in to everything that they contributed, that I need to just pay royalties to them. Like, I don't understand. I still don't really understand the mentality behind it. And maybe the crab mentality is the best way to put it. And, typically whenever I'm in these situations, I go to the Bible, right? I go to truth. What does the Bible say? And, I like to do things like, what does the Bible say about blame? What does the Bible say about, X, Y, and Z? And, when I look up blaming others, right, what does the Bible say about blaming others? It's crazy. So let's just, you've heard me talk, if you've heard me talk about a few episodes back, a few months ago, talked about, the speck in our eyes, right? Matthew 7:3-5 says, why do you see the speck that is in your brother's eye, but do not notice the log that is in your own eye? Or how can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye when there is a log in your own eye? You hypocrite, first take out the log in your own eye, and then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your brother's eye. This is ownership, right? You have things you need to do. You have control over things that you have control over. It is not my fault. It is not my speck. It is not my speck that is a priority in your life. It is the log in your eye that is a priority. And I'm saying this as I took ownership of what I misstepped in that situation. I'm not 100% like blameless in that. Did I miswalk? Absolutely. I am an imperfect person. I am just as broken as the next person. If this person felt that I wasn't being intentional enough, like, fine, probably true. But I'm also running a community of multiple people. Like, I'm also not ultimately, I'm going to let people down, is what pastor always says. I'm going to let you down. And in this situation, yeah, I might have let this person down. But still, there's a lot of control that you can have within yourself. Ask yourself, what do I have control over? What could I have changed in my circumstances? What did I not do? Because ultimately, this, like I said, nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. And I know that this person might be listening. Fine. Dude, ask yourself, man, like, what have you changed? You've changed nothing, and yet you go to blame somebody else? Man, like, I don't know what I can say about that, right? Romans 2:1 says, therefore you have no excuse, O man, every one of you who judges. For in passing judgment on another, you condemn yourself, because you, the judge, practice the very same things. Right? Yeah, it's very true. Yeah, perhaps one could say, hey, Theo, you have no right to judge this person. Absolutely not. But this person came with fire and brimstone upon me, and I need to answer for it. Hey, you want to air out my laundry? I'll air out your laundry. Let's do this, right? Like, how... and maybe now it's time to take a pause, right? Because, yeah, maybe it's not loving for me to do this. Maybe it's not forgiving of this person, And I rightfully admit, circumstances that this person finds themselves in is very, very difficult. And, I won't begin to understand how trying and how difficult it is. But I've made my attempts to help this person. And, like, if you can't even show up for a free meetup, and by no means am I saying that, I'm the end all and be all of help. Like, what are the fruits, right? We've been meeting for 2.5 years. What are the fruits? How do I reconcile? How do you reconcile that, right? And so here, the main verse, this one verse that really, really stuck out to me, that really, really hit me like a ton of bricks, is Galatians 6:1-6. It says, brothers, if anyone is caught in any transgression, you who are spiritual should restore him in a spirit of gentleness. Keep watch on yourself, lest you too be tempted. Bear one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ. For if anyone thinks he is something when he is nothing, he deceives himself. But let each one test his own work, and then his reason to boast will be in himself alone and not in his neighbor, for each will have to bear his own load. I'm going to read that again because it's exactly what anyone needs to hear in this situation, or for anybody who's blaming somebody else for circumstances in their lives or being blamed for circumstances in somebody else's life. Brothers, if anyone is caught in any transgression, you who are spiritual should restore him in a spirit of gentleness. Keep watch on yourself, lest you be tempted. Bear one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ. For if anyone thinks he is something when he is nothing, he deceives himself. But let each one test his own work, and then his reason to boast will be in himself alone and not in his neighbor, for each will have to bear his own load. Now, I can't say, right, why it is that this person is going through what they're going through, and I don't have to face that. That's not for me. That's not a question that Theo, an perfect human being who is finite, could answer. The only person who can answer that is God. Yet, the main thing each person should take away is, what do I have direct control over? What is my responsibility? What is my fault and my responsibility? I can't walk the walk for you. You can't walk the walk for me. That's why as a coach, it's very important for us to understand that I'm not taking this journey for you. I'm not telling you which step to take. I'm not lifting your leg and your foot to put it into holes or wherever I feel like is the best for you. You have to dictate what that is. You have to ask God, ultimately. You have to ask God, what is the direction you have to walk? And if you don't seek that, doesn't matter. You still have to dictate where it is you got to go. Where is it you are going? I can't take that step for you. And this person blaming me after a year or so of not showing up in the meetup, not seeking a personal conversation face to face about it, and then dropping a whole bunch of paragraphs about stuff, like that's just not how problems are resolved. That's just not how conflicts are resolved. And so I'm not willing to give any territory. I am going to be ruthless, I am going to be relentless, and I'm going to be remorseless. I am not sorry. I'm not sorry that you didn't take action in your life. And the same goes for everybody else in the community, because in not co-signing other people's bullshit, like I'm not letting that affect me. I'm not letting that affect anybody else. I'm not letting you drag anybody else down in the bucket. There's other people who want to make progress, who are willing to take control of their responsibilities, who are willing to act upon the things that they're not willing to take whatever is handed to them. They're willing to do something about it. They're willing to show up for a free call. They're willing to invest $25 a month on their own investment, on themselves, because they know that giving themselves the best is the best way. Right? If you're giving from a place of lack and you're giving yourself the crumbs, what kind of product are you going to give to your children? What kind of product are you going to give to your spouse? What kind of product are you going to give to those around you, the community around you, the friends who depend on you, right? Blows my mind, because this member also told me that another member in the community had been saying these things, right? No surprise to me. There are those that are no longer with us, and yet the circumstances in life maybe hasn't changed at all, right? Is this me judging? Maybe, yeah. Perhaps you could say that it is me judging. I'm looking at person's fruit and asking myself the questions. Should I be taking this person's word? Right? If I've been with you for 2.5 years and nothing in your life has changed, the circumstances have not changed, you've done nothing to do anything about it, right? Why should I listen? Why should I care about what you have to say? And yet you come seeking as if I owe you some kind of credit or something that you didn't take action on, and that I owe you. Like that's just not how the world works, right? Another thing that really triggered me and really got me thinking about this whole situation is how many people go day in and day out giving it a 1 or a 2 effort or a 3 effort, expecting a 10 result years down the road. If you're not willing to give it 10 today, don't expect tomorrow to be better. You give it a 1 or 2, your result years down the road is going to be a 1 or a 2, right? Not to mention you're coasting. If you're just coasting and staying afloat and not doing anything to be in discomfort, like you're not going to have any meaningful result down the road. What kind of result are you going to have, right? And I'm not saying that I give 10 every single day. There are down days. There are really bad days. There are very down streaks that I have, really bad streaks that I have. But I pick myself up and I'm still doing this 2.5 years in. I've only maybe missed like 2 to 3 meetups every single week in 2.5 years. These podcasts have been as consistent as I've been in anything. So I'm showing up. I'm doing what I can. I'm controlling what I can. And so because I'm controlling what I can and I've taken initiative on what I can control, I can in turn say that this judgment and these messages that are sent to me, disregard it. Because you've done nothing to change your life. You have no fruits to show for what you're doing in your life. Nothing has changed in your life. Clearly, you don't care about your own results. Why should I care about your results? It's really hard to say that. But one of the things we say all the time in our community is that you can lead a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink. That's the reality for men and fathers these days. Sent so many messages. Oh, now it's to the point where they're like, oh, why should we have to pay for something like this? Bro, you weren't even here when it was free. You said you were interested and nobody came in and you didn't show up. So don't tell me that now you think that you shouldn't have to pay for this. If you couldn't even show up when it was free, you're not going to value whenever you have to invest. And if you don't even see that as a small lesson for yourself of how important it is to invest in yourself, then you're for another community. You're for those free communities that are just text-based. You can just read somebody else's story and walk away with little tidbits for yourself. If that helps you, fine. Good. I'm glad. I hope you take action on those things. Ultimately, in my heart, is I hope that you take action on those things, that you walk away with something for yourself. But don't expect years down the road to come back and say, how come my life is so crap? Or how come the results of my life is so this and that? When you haven't taken control, right? God has given you the opportunities and you haven't leaned in, right? You continue to reject. See where that ends, where that takes you and where you end up. And I'm going to look back and I'm going to see that I took care of myself well. I tested myself, right? I tested my own work. And I'm going to let the fruits of that speak for itself. And that's all I got to say today. So if you have somebody who's blaming you, look at their fruits, right? This person, if he hasn't taken action on their own things, ignore them. They are for themselves. They don't care about you. They don't want to see you progress in life. They surround themselves with friends who don't take action on their lives, because who wants to hang out with somebody who is going to call them out on their BS? Nobody, right? Nobody does that. It's just human psychology. If you showed up, if you kept showing up, you would understand the context. You'd understand the details. You'd understand why we became who we became as a group, right? As opposed to you haven't showed up for a year and then you blame us for going premium or whatever it is. Like, dude, like you weren't even there. So I guess this is goodbye, right? Thank you for joining us. You know, if you didn't, I'm not going to kick you out, but you know, like I just can't, I don't know what to say. And I'm fired up about this because I've given it more credence than I should. And I guess in a sense that gives control over me. And I'm using this podcast right now to release it. And so they might not listen to it. I don't care. Like I just really don't care. And so, you know, if you find yourself here, you know, and you want to surround yourself with people who don't co-sign your bullshit and want to see you accomplish great things in your life to help you maximize the potential that you have in your life that is inherent to you and that you have the ability to control and to get to, right? Who only seeks the best for you. Maybe Noble Father is that community for you. Invest in yourself. Currently, right now, our community is $25 USD a month, right? For you to show up for these meetups. We have 4 meetups every Thursday of every week that you can go and unload the things that you're going through Find support from other brothers who are going through it as well. We also have a Tuesday accountability call, last Tuesday of every single month, where fathers who want to grow, who want to set goals for themselves, who want accountability, can find the growth and maximize that potential. We're also doing a Wednesday Bible study. We call it a life group. It's not so much a Bible study. It's really just talking about what we believe. What is your spiritual walk? Where is it at? Any questions you have about faith, about God, about Christians, about sin, about anything. It's just an open space to talk about your faith and your spirituality. We are not there to deceive. We are not there to misguide. We will seek the answers. It's not like one person has all the answers. If somebody doesn't know, we go to test with God's word. This is truth, and so we go to test it. There's no pressure to show up for those. Anybody is welcome, and if you don't show up, that's fine. That's what you're choosing to control. There's nobody there to preach down your throat and force feed you with things that you don't want to believe. But for those who are eager and want to seek, we are very welcoming of that. And so, one of the things that happened this past or 2 weeks ago, is something that I want to leave you with and encourage you with, is that in all your struggles, remember that all you have to do is Psalm 84:11, which says, "Be still and know that I am God." And I'm talking about that God, not me. I am not God. Be still and know that He is God. He sees your problems. He sees the things that you're facing. He knows the struggles that you are in. He gives you opportunities to lean in and walk and rely on Him to show you the way out. You can either choose to push Him away and try to do it yourself, or, hey, be open-minded. See where He takes you. See where He takes you, right? This isn't me preaching to you. This is me showing you an opportunity, open-ended. Take it or leave it. Nobody's forcing you to take it. If you choose to take it, I hope you take it with all your heart. So remember, we are not promised tomorrow. So stay present and be noble. Bye for now.